Hi 340 students. I'm going to go over the requirements and instructions for the website assignment that is due on 10/25. So this is called a website because I want you to imagine that you actually could put this up on a website even though you won't. You're just going to put it up on a web document unless you want to, or I'm sorry, a regular Word document, unless you want to go online and play around with websites. I think Google Sites has a free website platform, and there may be others, but this is just sort of an imaginary website. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be working again on a Word document and imagining that your students are going on to, like your school or your class website to do what's called a webquest. So here are the instructions. So imagine that you're an 8th grade teacher and you've been required to teach a subject in your discipline that includes digital technology and also literacy skills, because that's what we're doing in this class. And you may be asked to do that when you interview or in your job. So what you're going to do is you're going to create something called a webquest. And again, the webquest you create is not going to be on a website. It's going to be on just a regular Word document. This Word document is going to include visuals and also links to websites, so live links to websites that your students can visit to learn about the topic that you're going to teach. So we're going to go through the requirements and a little example. The webquest, as I said just a second ago, is going to be on any topic in your discipline. Now, you may want to continue to work on the topic that you used for your screencast, or you might want to come up with a topic that connects to one of the themes and outliers if you want to be a little bit more ambitious and get a head start on that project. So for example, if you were thinking about a particular math topic that you're connecting to culture or hard work in outliers, then maybe you could think of a topic that you want to teach for this webquest. But you don't have to do that. The webquest is going to have a title and visuals. The webquest needs to have links to videos, information, and or lessons, whatever is appropriate. The webquest is going to have an introduction. And the webquest is going to include 3 tasks. I'm going to show you on this example, I just wrote 1 task. You're going to do 3 tasks. And for each task, your student is going to be required to visit at least 1 website, it could be more, that provides instruction such as a video, a YouTube video, it could be a Wikipedia page, it could be a reference page, or it could be lessons. And I'll show you an example of lessons in just a second. Each task is going to require students to work with the information that they learned when they visited the website. They either read something, or they listened to something, or they listened and watched on that website. They're going to work with whatever information they've learned. And that's going to involve sort of either working with numbers, quantitative information, solving math problems, and of course you can be solving math problems in any discipline. So if it were health, it could be, looking at food labels and trying to, figure out how many grams of protein are in 2 servings of, something. Or if it's just information, then the questions you're going to ask are going to be sort of the who, what, where, when questions that involve just a 1 or 2 word answer. But in addition to that, you're going to ask a higher order thinking question that requires your students to do one of these: to describe, to explain, to analyze, to synthesize, to justify, or evaluate. So they're going to be working with the information. They're going to do sort of simple 1-word answers or solving equations, and then you're going to ask them to respond to a higher order thinking question in writing. So that's how you hit your literacy. And then for each task that you design, and you're designing 3 tasks, you're going to include at least one of your disciplinary standards. So that would be shape. There are health standards, which are shape health standards. The PE are also PE shape standards, or the Common Core state standards for math. If you go onto Blackboard and you click on documents, those standards are all at the very top of the page. And you're also going to include one ELA or literacy standard. Those are the ones that we worked with earlier, the ones that were highlighted. I gave you that gloss for it, and you worked with those. So let me just show you an example of what I'm going to ask you to do. So this is mathematics and sports. So here is your title. Now here are your visuals. This is your introduction, and it really just lays out what the topic is and why students might be interested in it, how it connects to their lives. The tasks, this also is an introduction, what is it students are going to be able to do. So the introduction is a general introduction of the topic, and then an introduction of the tasks. This is an example of the task. So it's task 1, and these are baseball stats. Right under the title of the task, I have my literacy standard. So students are going to be writing, this is the grade level, and this is standard 2 that asks students to write informative or explanatory texts. And then I'm taking these parts of task 2, A, B, D, and F, that are relevant to what students will be doing in my task. This is the math, Common Core State Standard for math. Students will be working with statistics and probability. So I've included 1, 2, and 4 because, again, those are the standards that this task addresses. So this task is on batting average, okay, and again, it's a math lesson. And what you're going to see is there are directions. There's a link. So I click on the link and I go to a lessons page that sort of lays out how I work with decimals. My students would read that, and then they would come back and answer the question. So what is the batting average? Or I'm sorry, first they have to do the calculations. Then they're figuring out the batting average, how it's calculated. They're ordering the averages. And then notice that this is your hot question, your higher order thinking question. How does the batting average measure a player's performance? So that's going to be 1 or 2 sentences of higher order thinking question and writing. And then there's another question or series of questions for this task. And now again, there are questions about this chart. Students figured out how to find out an average using decimals by going to the website to read about it. This is going to be a link to information, 25 players in the 2008 season. This is going to describe what it means to order in math, so its vocabulary word is highlighted as a link. And then down here again, you have sort of those one-word answers, calculations, and then you have that hot question, okay, that higher order thinking question. And so this is, again, it's an example of one task, and it hits all of these requirements. It's got the discipline, so it's math. It has a title and visuals. It has links to video, information, and or lessons. This just had lessons and information. It has an introduction. It's an example of one task, but it has students working with the information they found on the links you provided, and it also has them working with the higher order thinking question. And that task includes at least one Common Core math standard, and it has an ELA literacy standard as well, and that's written in right here under the title of the task. Write to me if you have questions. This is due again on 10/25. This information, as well as several examples in each of your disciplines of webquests that are actually hosted on websites are on Blackboard so that you can see those. You can use this as a checklist. This is an example, and there are a lot of other examples too. I hope you have fun with it and you learn a lot.